Hey all, welcome back. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about Verilog functions and tasks. Okay, so this is the most important topic in Verilog. So there are some topics in Verilog which are very important. When you go to some interviews or when you are writing some written tests on Verilog also, these topics are very important in Verilog. One of those topics is Verilog functions and tasks. Okay, there are many other topics like blocking statements and non-blocking statements, okay, and like Verilog operators. So in these types of concepts, more frequently they will be asking many questions on them. Okay, so one among this is Verilog functions and tasks, and also many of you have asked me in LinkedIn and also commented me that in order to make a video on Verilog functions and tasks, so here I am today to explain you about Verilog functions and tasks. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Now coming to function or task, anything. Okay, here function or task is nothing but, for example, okay, let me explain it to you in a simple manner so that you can easily grab why what is this function and why are we using these functions. Okay, so there is some piece of code in your code program. Okay, like there is some 10 lines of code in your program and you want to use that particular program for multiple number of times in your code. Okay, then basically what you can do, okay, what you will do, you will be writing all these 10 lines of code everywhere where you want to use. That is one way. Okay, but there is also another way which is very convenient, that is writing that piece of code in a function format. That means we will be writing it in a function, and then whenever we want to use that piece of code, what we will be doing is we will be calling the name of the function wherever we want to use that. Okay, then what happens, as soon as we call that function, the entire code, the entire piece of code that you have written for one time, it will be executed at the place where you are calling the function. Okay, so basically this is what the function is. Both function and task do the same thing. Okay, even though there are some differences between them, but the working for those two is same. Like both function and task, what you do is, in order you will be writing it somewhere in your code. Okay, and when you want to use that particular task or function, you will be calling that with its name. Okay, and then what it will happen, as soon as you call it, okay, the function will be executed at the place where you are calling it, and then again the remaining code will be executed. Okay, so this is what basically the function and task is, right? Hope you got the idea on what is function and task. So as I already told you, we are going to write it in a function format. So when it comes to function, we are having some rules and regulations and some syntaxes while we are writing this function. Okay, so when it comes to function declaration, okay, basically while you are writing the function, there are two processes. Okay, one is declaring the function. Okay, whenever the first thing is you have to declare the function. Then after declaring the function, you have to define the function. Okay, these are the two things you will be writing in your function. Okay, now let us see what is the declaring of this function and defining the function. So first, in order to declare the function, you have to use, like, these three are the important parts in declaring. One is function name. Okay, and then you have to write whether this is automatic function or static function. You will see this later, what is automatic and static, but this declaration is optional. Okay, you can declare it as automatic or static, or you can just leave it like that. Okay, so function name one is, and then return type, like what it is going to return. Okay, why returning is nothing but, as I already told you, we are using that function in the piece, we are using that piece of code at the place where we want. So when you are using it, why are you using it? Okay, it should have some essence there. When you are using it, it should give some result, it should return some result. That is what return type. And then arguments are nothing but inputs and outputs that you are going to declare. Okay, so this is what your function declaration contains. Okay, so whenever you're going to declare a function, you should write within function and end function keyword. Okay, function, just like you will be writing module and module, similarly function and end function. Okay, clear? Got my point? And within the function and end function, okay, you will be defining the function. Okay, defining means the logic. We can in simple words, the logic which you are going to write in this function is nothing but definition of that function. Okay, so let us see how we are going to write it in the sin, like in a normal format, in a programming language, like in a code format, how you are going to write it. See, whatever you want to declare here, you will be writing within function and end function. Okay, and then if that function, that particular function is automatic function, you have to declare it automatic, but this is optional, as I already told you. Okay, if you are not declaring it as an automatic function, then it is by default a static function. Okay, there is no need of declaring a static function, because by default any function is static in nature. But if you want to declare it as a automatic, you have to use the keyword automatic. Okay, so this is as I already told you, this particular block is optional, whether you can write it or you no need to write it. So function and then return type. Okay, what you want to return. Okay, if there is no return type, so I think you already know, will be, if there is no return type, it will be returning to void. Okay, function void. If there is no return type, but if it is having any return type, you have to mention the return type. And then the name of the function, because as I already told you, we will be calling that function. So in order to call the function, we have to name it, is it or not? So the name of the function, it can be any identifier, like any unique name it can be. Okay, and then arguments, nothing but inputs declaration. Okay, and then coming to the definition, definition should be within begin and end. If it is, if your definition is having some multiple lines, okay, definition is nothing but logic. Okay, logic or something, if your logic is having multiple lines, it should be between begin and end. But if your function is having only single logic or single statement, then it can have only, just it can just, you can just write function, that logic and end function. But it is having multiple lines, you should go for begin and end. Okay, right? So this is what you will be, how you will be writing the function. To write a function, first we need to declare it. That is what I told you, this is known as functional declaration. Okay, so when you see here, this is called function declaration, and what you are writing within the function, like within the body of the function, that is called function definition. Okay, after declaration we write the functions body, which is nothing but functions functionality, nothing but the logic you are going to write, and that is known as function definition. Okay, we cannot define the function before declaring it. This is the important thing that you should keep in mind. Okay, before declaring the function, that means before telling that I am using this function, you can't define it. Okay, that is the thing you need to remember, because these may be may seem very easy, but when anyone asks you in interview, these are some of the tricky questions. Like anyone can ask you, like, can you define a function without declaring it? Okay, so basically you have to know what is function declaration and what is function definition in order to answer this. Okay, so we cannot define a function before declaring it. Got my point? Yes, so this is how you will be writing your function. Okay, function, return type, function name, input ports. Okay, whether you are having any input ports, output ports, and outputs, you will be declaring, and then you will be defining it. Okay, and then end function. Okay, so this is one way of writing. This is the first way. Like in this first way, you will be declaring inputs, outputs, nothing but you will be declaring the ports list within the parenthesis after the function name. But you can do another way, just like in a module. During the module declaration, how you will be doing, you can either mention the input ports list either in the within the parenthesis where you are declaring it, or you can declare them inside the module. Similarly, you can declare the sports list either within the parenthesis, or you can just close the parenthesis and you can declare them inside the function. Okay, so this is how the thing is. See, function. Okay, this is my name of the function, function name, and this name is sum, and this is of some 8-bit wide. Okay, and here within this, either I can write it in this way, or if you see, I can write it like 7 down to input 7 down to 0, say like this, input 7 down to 0 a comma b. Okay, you can either write it in this way or in this way. These are two ways, but as I told you already in Verilog from starting, don't mix match both things. Okay, don't declare here and as well as here, because it will throw you error when we are going to declare it in both ways. Okay, so, and I'm taking two inputs A and B, and both are of again 8-bit byte. Okay, now within begin and end I am defining my function. So this is my declaration and this is my definition. So what is my definition? Sum A plus B. So this is my definition. And then this is the single piece of code that I am using here, and end function. Now what will happen means, after writing this particular function, I can declare this function at any part of my code by just calling this function with its name. Okay, now let us see how we are going to call this function. Okay, so yeah, see here, this is my example. So this is the piece of code that we have declared before, is it or not? See, this is the piece of code. Okay, so now I have written this piece of code at somewhere at the starting of my program or my code, and now I want to use this at various parts of my program. Now see, this is my program, like read 7 down to 0 x result, and read 7 down to 0 x and y. Okay, initial begin, and I'm giving values some x equal to 4 and y equal to 5. Fine. Now at hash term result, okay, what I'm assigning to my result, I am assigning, if you see, sum x comma y. So what is the sum? As soon as you have given this sum, what happens? There is a function named sum. Okay, now what is happening? As soon as you have given this sum, it will be calling this particular function here. Okay, now what happens? Sum x comma y. So nothing but sum of 4 comma 5. Now what happens? Nothing but 4 comma 5. So sum equal to 4 plus 5. The logic will be given, and then the output is returned to this particular result. Got my point? Yes. So in this way the execution is done. So as soon as the result is done, like as soon as the result sum 4 plus 5 equal to 9 is assigned to result, then again the execution will be continued with the next process. Okay, so this is how the calling of function is done. Hope you got idea on how we are going to find the function and write the function. Okay, now let us see what is the purpose of function. We already have explained about it, but let us see it in a way. Like the purpose of function is to return a value. That is what I said. So why are we calling it? We are calling it because we need something from it. We need some return value from it. So basically every function should return at least one value. If it is not going to return, it should be at least given as a void. Okay, the return type can be void if the function doesn't return anything. Okay, so whenever you are defining the function, you should use function and end function keywords, and that should be followed by some, if you, as you see in the syntax, everything it should be followed in that way. Okay, so while function should have at least, when you are declaring a function, it should have at least one input declaration. Okay, so that is important. And function can be declared inside, we can declare this function inside module, or else you can use it in always blocks, continuous blocks, and any other functions you can use this function. Okay, and then one important thing that makes it differ from tasks is function cannot contain any time controlled statements. So what is this time control statements? Nothing but delays. Okay, it shouldn't contain any delays. Whenever you are calling a function, you should remember that you shouldn't have any declares for that particular function. Okay, that means within the function, when you are writing something within the function, you shouldn't give any delays for that particular function. Got my point? Yes. So if you see, did you say any delays here? No, right? So this is my basic function. So for this function, what is the return value? So this is my return value. Sum is my return value. Okay, got my point, right? So while we are declaring or while you are using it functions, we have to know the rules while you are using the functions. Okay, the rules are very simple. Okay, Verilog functions can have one or more input arguments. That means it can have many arguments. Like it can have many input arguments. We can say that. Like functions can only return one value. That is important. That means it can return only one value, and it cannot use time-consuming constructs. Okay, like pause, edge, wait, delay. So these are the time consuming constructs. Okay, you can't use them in case of this functions. Okay, we can't call tasks from within a function. This is also one of the frequently asked questions in functions and tasks. Okay, can we call the function from task, or can we call the task from function? Okay, these are the two frequently asked questions. Okay, so in order to remember this question, I'll just give you a small trick. Okay, so as I already told you, function can't use delays. Okay, but task can use delays. So when function is calling tasks, what happens if your task contains delays? Then the function can't call it, is it or not? So that is why function can't call tasks, but task can call functions, because task in task we can use delays, we may not use delays. Okay, it is liberal for both the cases. So because of its liberty, what we can do, we can call function from the task. Okay, by using task we can call a function, but by using function we can't call a task. Got it? Hope you got an idea on this. If you are still confused, okay, you can comment me so that I'll explain you one more time regarding this. Okay, right? So non-blocking assignments can't be used within the function. Okay, this is also one more thing. Like as I already we can use like blocking statements, everything, but we can't use non-blocking statements within a function. Because why we can't call non-blocking statements means, because in non-blocking statements the execution is not done immediately, is it or not? Okay, it takes some delay before okay, as soon as the RHS is completed, it, it won't be assigned to LHS immediately. It takes some period of time before, after execution of all the RHS statements only, then the assignment to LHS happens. Okay, is it or not? So because of this delay in assignment, this delay is not uh, worked in functions, is not allowed in functions. So that is why we can't use non-blocking assignments within a function. Okay, and then local variables can be declared and used inside the function. That means you, even though you are not declaring that variables, like if you have seen in the before example I have taken like a and b. Okay, so even though you are not declaring that variables within the module also, you can declare them within the function and you can use it within the function. Okay, but you can't use them outside the function. If you are using any local variables, you should use it within the function and end function. You can't use it outside the function. Clear? Yes, we can access and modify global variables from inside a Verilog function. Also, you are declaring some variables like x comma y in your module, so you can you can change those values within from the function. That means whenever you are changing the values from the function, the values there also will get changed. Okay, hope you got my point. If you don't specify a return type, okay, the function will return a single bit. If you are not specifying any return type, then it will return at least a single bit like 0 or 1 or anything. Okay, so this is what the function is. Right, so as I already told you, these are two types of declarations. You can either declare it inside the parenthesis. This is called inline declaration. That means inside the function only we are declaring it within the parenthesis. So this is the type of declaration which is called inline declaration. Okay, then there is another declaration where you could declare it inside the function body. Okay, I think we already learned about this. Okay, so this is my entire function. Now this sorry, either this or this, like this is either one way or it's a second way. So when it comes to this function declaration, and when you want this particular function to be used in somewhere of your code, you can just call it in this way. Like if you see addition, that is the name of my function, and you could use any two variables. Okay, now what happens? A is nothing but in of A, B is nothing but in of B. Here you also should remember one thing most importantly. When you are declaring the variables, okay, it will be following just like in port, it will be following order while you are mapping ports. Okay, port mapping by order or port mapping by name. Here we are giving it port mapping by order. That means when you are giving A and B, it is linked to I in A and I in B. For example, if you are giving it here as addition B comma A, now what happens means B is inclined to in of A is inclined to in of B. Okay, so in this way, based on the order only, it will be mapped to that particular variables that you have declared in the function. Got my point? So this is about the functions, right? So next important topic within the functions is automatic functions. Okay, from the starting we have seen that we are declaring the type of function, whether it is automatic or static, right? Is it or not? So I already told you that if that function is not automatic, if it is not declared as automatic, then it is in static by nature. Okay, if that is a static function, you don't need to mention it separately, that that is a static function. Okay, even though you mention it doesn't throw you an error, but you no need to do that. But if you want that particular function to be automatic in nature, then you should represent it as an automatic function. Got my point? So okay, so coming to automatic functions. So what is the automatic function? Okay, so this particular topic I'll be explaining it in a one other session, because basically this automatic function is very important when it comes to system verilog. So that is why you have to get a clear idea on what is automatic function here itself, so that you don't get any confusion when it comes to system verilog. So that is why I want to make a separate session on this automatic functions. Okay, so once you know what is function and what is automatic function, the task itself a very easy thing, because task is very similar to function, just because it is having some differences, like as I already told you, like task can use delays, we can use delays in tasks. Okay, and in function it should have compulsorily have return type, but in task there is no rule that it can have, it should have compulsorily return type and it should return some value. So these are some basic differences in classes. We'll be seeing that in the next sessions. So as for now, this is about functions. Okay, hope you got a clear idea on what is function. Okay, if you are having any doubts, you can just ping me in the comment box, or you can ping me in any of my social media channels. Okay, and also if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing this channel and hit on the notification bell also, and also follow me on all the social media channels that I provided in my YouTube channel. And also, if you want any particular materials on this Verilog or system Verilog or any UVM or anything, you follow me on LinkedIn and my join in my Telegram channel. So in LinkedIn, I have already published all my Verilog PPTs. Okay, in part wise, like part one, part two, I have published almost 10 PPTs there. Okay, you can go to my LinkedIn page to check all those posts. And now, if you want about system Verilog and UVM, you have to join in my Telegram channel, where I am posting all the PPTs regarding the system Verilog and UVM. Also, I'll be posting many interview questions on remaining social media pages like Instagram and Quora also. So do follow me there also. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you.